Welcome. I would like to describe to you why I am not a libertarian. First of all, I'd like to start out by saying that, in my opinion, democracy is not the best form of government. Democracy is an approximation of an ideal form of government, which is consensus. Naturally, the government that governs least governs because it governs with the consent of the people. Okay, so consensus is the ideal, not democracy. Democracy is a way of approximating consensus, we hope. There's another form of consent, and that is what the libertarians claim, is that when two people make a trade and they trade freely, they're trading from mutual consent. They are two consenting adults. This translates to private lives, it translates into economic lives, free trade, and everything else. So in the libertarian viewpoint, any trade between consenting parties is the best form of government because it's government through consent. Okay, so just to show that I understand what libertarianism is and what libertarians believe. My problem with libertarians is that there's something in economics called an externality. Externality is something where if two people trade, there are side effects that affect third parties which have not been involved in the decisions. A very good example of this is, let's say you've got customer A who buys a widget from company B, and company B can offer a lower price because they are polluting the environment. They're not cleaning up after themselves. The price of the widget does not reflect the true cost, because the total cost, a large part of the total cost, polluting the environment, is passed off to society. It's called externalizing the cost of producing the product. In this case, it would be polluting the environment. It's externalized. You don't pay for cleaning up the environment. You are only paying for the widget, and society bears the cost of cleaning up the environment if indeed it can be cleaned up. So with that in mind, the people, the third parties, are not giving their consent. Okay, so that is where free trade violates the best form of government, because the people who are affected by free trades are not consenting. They do not consent with the trade if it's laissez-faire capitalism. So in the old days, it was possible because there were so many resources and there's a wild frontier, that this freedom to trade freely amongst people without having to worry about externalities was enabled primarily because there was no shortage of resources. There was plenty of land, plenty of wood, plenty of water, plenty of fresh air, plenty of everything. There were no shortages of resources, and people were actually fairly quite scarce. Okay, there wasn't a lot of people. Where there were lots of people all in one place, like in the city, of course, you'd have sewage problems and things like that. But in modern times, with the overpopulation of the planet and the scarcity of resources and the way in which we are consuming resources at an exponential rate, and I could go off and talk about exponential functions, which we are certainly caught in one with the Fed right now, but with the scarcity of resources, the externalities are becoming more and more significant, to the point where the costs, the externalized costs, are more than the price. So, I mean, to make an analogy, the cost of low price could be the entire planet. If we buy cheap goods, not knowing how they're made or how they're polluting the environment, the cost is passed off to society. The cost is the planet, and we lose the planet. So that's not a very viable option. Another argument I hear from libertarians, and one that's very, very prevalent, is that The free market is one that enables evolution of sorts, an evolution of corporations or business, that products that are best will succeed, that it's survival of the fittest, and this provides, the market mechanism provides an ecosystem in order for products to flourish. And while this may be true to a certain extent, evolution does not always produce the solutions that would best fit our species. Evolution, very often a solution with evolution is extinction, and that is something that has happened many times in the past. If there's some excellent books about collapse of ecosystems when they become overutilized, and extinction is a solution. So if we blindly go with this faith in evolution, that evolution and the market is going to solve everything, one solution is extinction, which is not a very good alternative. It would be preferable to avoid that. So anyways, those are the primary reasons why I'm not a libertarian. I think freedom would be great if we could afford it, but I think the externalities outweigh the personal freedoms, and that there are some things in which there are very few externalities. We should keep a very capitalist system for that, but there are some things in which the externalities very much outweigh the price. You know, when we talk about utilities such as oil, when we talk about clean air and the things that can that we all depend on, that we all need, and that have very large externalities, those things we really need to manage. If we do not manage them, evolution, the free market will solve it, and it may solve it in a way we do not like. So anyways, that's it for my first video, and hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to your comments.